Hi, I'm Ann, and I'm back to talk with you about our final HIV engagement measure. So we talked about incidence, diagnosis, and retention. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about in-care viral suppression. Now, as discussed prior, for this measure, of all people living with HIV who were on ART, we want 90% to achieve viral suppression. And again, before we look at the outcomes, let's remind ourselves of where all this data comes from. Like with our prior data, our main sources here are going to be our required public health surveillance data and our supplemental programmatic data. Our denominator here is going to be retained in care, and our numerator is going to be viral suppression. This is a direct measure defined as the last viral load of the year being at or less 200 copies per milliliter. This is called in-care viral suppression. So 85% of people living with HIV know their status. Of those, 70% have achieved retention and care. And of those, 86% have achieved viral suppression. So for this goal, we're almost where we want to be. Now, as a reminder, here is who we're talking about. This is who's living with HIV and knows their status in Texas. And again, this will look different depending on where in the states you are, but this is what Texas looks like overall. Now let's take a look at those outcomes. Again, one way to help understand what our viral suppression measure means and how to prioritize communities and populations within it is by using this stoplight color coding system. Whereas remember, green means go for it. These areas are achieving their 90-90 goals, and we can look to them for promising practices and to maintain those effective activities. Yellow means caution. Just like at a stoplight, you're going to roll through that intersection, but you're going to slow down first and check for cars and other contexts. These areas may not be a priority, but we want to slow down and examine further. Finally, red means stop. These areas are the furthest away from achieving our goals. We definitely want to do a hard stop here and understand what's happening. Now let's look at our state map around viral suppression, and we can already see some big differences around our two maps. There are several areas in the state that are achieving our goals for in-care viral suppression. And when we pop up our Part A regions, we can see that unlike retention, there are no disparities across region. They're all pretty close to achieving our goal. Austin has achieved the in-care viral suppression goal. Now let's start combining these elements and look at our priority populations at the state level over time. Each of these bars represents ranges of in-care viral suppression for our priority populations. Remember, the longer the bar, the greater the disparities between groups. Now, everyone here is using the same denominator, retained in care, so we can look at all of our populations the same. And what we see again are the same kinds of disparities we've seen across all of our domains, specifically that Black, gay, and bisexual men, Black women, and transgender women don't have the opportunities that they need to achieve viral suppression, even when they're retained in care. So let's keep diving in, and now let's look at our priority populations within our metro areas. As a reminder, here are our 5 Part A regions and what they look like. And again, we can walk each of our priority populations through, and we again see the same disparities. And again, these are disparities across vastly different regions. So first, let's look at who has achieved our goal or is relatively close to achieving our goal. We can see that there are fewer disparities between populations in Austin. So we want to stop and understand what's unique about the environment there and the systems. We can also see that the same populations are achieving in-care viral suppression across all of our regions. So again, we can look here to see what's working well for these groups so we can make sure to enhance it and spread those promising practices around the state. On the other end, we can see that our systems are again challenging the same communities, and we aren't offering the same opportunities to everyone. Understanding the experiences of these populations in these communities is key. Finally, let's look at age. Again, a reminder that these groups are different sizes, and we want to keep that in mind. But let's just focus on who's in the red and furthest away from achieving in-care viral suppression. And just like we've seen across all of our domains, our systems continue to challenge the same groups. Specifically here, young Black, gay, and bisexual men, young Black women, and young transgender women. Even when they're actively engaged in care, these groups don't have the opportunities they need to achieve viral suppression. And as we move towards our status neutral future, continuing to center the experiences and needs of these communities and accounting for all the intersectionality that comes into play with our populations is going to be crucial in order to end the HIV epidemic in Texas. I want to close out with this final resource. If you want more details about your region's HIV health outcomes or more information about our data, you can find all that here at this link. And last but not least, thank you to the Texas Department of State Health Services surveillance staff, regional staff, and all of you who contribute to our big ball of data. Thank you.